20 doctors failed to diagnose the heiress, but the single dad janitor saw one tiny clue. The Harrington family could buy almost anything: private jets, ocean view mansions, the best doctors in the world, but no amount of money could buy back the color in 9-year-old Lily Harrington's cheeks. For months, she had grown weaker and weaker. Her cough rattled through the walls of St. Augustine's Children's Hospital. 20 doctors, pulmonologists, allergists, specialists with gold-plated reputations had all tried and failed. Each walked away shaking their heads, muttering words like mystery case and beyond treatment. Her mother, Eleanor Harrington, sat in silence at her daughter's bedside. Billionaire, philanthropist, heiress of one of America's oldest fortunes, and yet powerless. The hospital floors gleamed, the chandeliers above sparkled. Nurses rushed in and out with charts and syringes. But in the quiet corner of that bright hospital, a broken bar, someone else was listening. Daniel Miller, the night shift janitor. He wasn't a doctor. He wasn't rich. In fact, most days, people barely noticed him as he pushed his mop across the marble tiles. But Daniel had something more valuable than a medical degree. He had a son, Jacob, and Jacob had once been just like Lily, gasping for air, dismissed by experts, nearly lost to a condition nobody caught in time. So Daniel had learned to pay attention, really pay attention. That night, as he emptied the trash in Lily's room, he noticed something, a tiny detail that no one else had. Lily reached for her water-broken bar but pulled back sharply, grimacing in pain. Her breathing sounded strangely, and not like a typical wheeze, but as if her throat was tightening instead of her lungs. Daniel froze. He remembered Jacob. The same pain look, the same refusal to drink cold water, the same haunting sound at night. Doctors had called it asthma, but it wasn't. Daniel's heart pounded. Could it be happening again? The next morning, the world's finest physicians gathered around polished oak tables, their voices blending into medical jargon. Daniel, in his worn work shirt, stood by the door. He knew he shouldn't speak. He was a janitor. They were the best of the best. But when he looked at Lily's frail face, he thought of Jacob, and he couldn't stay silent. "Excuse me," Daniel said softly. Every head turned. Doctors, specialists, Eleanor Harrington herself. Their eyes narrowed at the interruption. Daniel swallowed hard. His voice trembled, but his words carried weight. "Yeah, broken bar. I think it's not her lungs. It's her airway. Something called vocal cord dysfunction. My son had it. Cold water made it worse. The doctors missed it for years until I insisted." For a long moment, silence hung in the air. Then one of the specialists scoffed. "A janitor thinks he's smarter than the finest physicians." But Eleanor's eyes, red and tired, locked on Daniel's. She didn't see a janitor. She saw a father. And a father's desperation had saved her daughter once before. "Test it," she ordered. Hours later, the results were undeniable. Daniel was right. Lily didn't have an incurable disease. She had a rare but treatable condition that had perfectly mimicked something else. The wrong diagnosis had nearly cost her life. Within days, the change was astonishing. Lily's cheeks regained their glow. She laughed again, her voice ringing through the sterile hospital halls. Eleanor clutched her daughter, tears streaming down her face. And then, she turned to Daniel. "You saved her. You and not the doctors. You." News spread quickly. Headlines blared. 20 doctors failed, but janitor's observation saves heiress. Cameras tried to chase him. Reporters begged for interviews. But Daniel didn't want fame. All he wanted was one thing: a time off to take Jacob fishing, like he had promised for years. Eleanor Harrington made sure he got far more than that. She quietly covered every bit of Jacob's medical care, and she gave Daniel a choice: never mop another floor unless he truly wanted to. That night, as Daniel tucked Jacob into bed, the boy looked up at him. "A broken bar. How did you know you could help her?" Daniel smiled, brushing a strand of hair from his son's forehead. "Because sometimes, but a broken bar, the world doesn't need the smartest person in the room. It just needs someone who cares enough to notice." And in that single truth was the lesson that spread far beyond the hospital room, that greatness isn't always found in titles, or wealth, or even education. Sometimes, it's found in ordinary people who choose to pay attention. A broken bar, and in small acts of compassion that change everything.